Nerd Academy podcast is released weekly at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, available on our website at www.thenerdacademypodcast.com and wherever you listen to podcasts. You can find the Nerd Academy podcast on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. You can also help support the show by going to patreon.com/The Nerd Academy podcast, where every donation allows us to bring you more exciting content every week.
Good morning, class, and welcome back to the Nerd Academy podcast, your source for nerddom news and commentary. My dog is going apeshit because I think she heard me rapping on the table here during the theme song and thought someone was knocking on the door. I am your host, Jared Bachman-Stubbs, and we're taking a little breaky from all the movie talk. Man, she's really going apeshit. We're taking a little breaky from the movie talk here for a little bit. Got some news to go over, some very exciting news, some stuff I'm very excited to talk about. But I am not alone, of course. We have our resident Green Lantern man who has power to his apartment complex, Travis Grossman.
It's not 8 o'clock yet. We shall see.
Oh, I wish you guys could have seen last week for the Superman review we did, which I had so much fun recording. I think it was a great episode. Again, big thanks to Alden and Mr. Radtastic for joining us for that one. It was a wonderful, wonderful time. I cannot get over literally, like when I say Travis vanished while the intro was playing. Like I removed everybody from the stream, pressed play on the intro, and at about halfway through the ad read from Joel in the middle of it about the Patreon, I saw Travis's little rectangle in the bottom corner just out. And I was like, oh, maybe he's resetting something and he'll be back in before I'm done doing the, hey, welcome back to the, and I'm like, as I'm speaking, I look down, I'm like, oh, good, he's gone. Fuck, great.
Yeah. So from my perspective, you were like, all right, cool, let's go. You removed everyone from StreamYard, and then at first it only flickered. Like it went off and back on.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, well, all right. My internet just reset, so I had to let that go. And like again, you had just done it. So like as annoying as it would have been, I was about to text you, hey, give me like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Sorry, like, it happened. And as I was literally texting, power just flickered. Give me, like, I had it like typed out, and as I looked up, you'll notice that lamp is on, but it's not really doing anything right now. But it's in case we're talking long enough that the sun sets, and my giant ass window can't illuminate me anymore. I realized, like, as I'm typing that, I'm like, that lamp's still off. Everything else around me shut off. Wait, I think the power's just off. I walked out into the hallway. I was like, roommate, is power off? He's like, yeah, sure is. We opened the door into the hallway of the building. We're like, emergency lights are on. That's bad.
It was just so funny because, like, for a little peek behind the curtain, in this neck of the woods here in the Steel City, it has been storming nonstop. I'm sure you being as close to the rivers as you are, it's been significantly crazy as shit.
But you know what? Even like the really bad ones we had back in like April, May.
Yeah.
We didn't lose power. I was one of the lucky ones. We only lost for a couple hours the following day when they were working on something else on the grid, like around, and had to shut off power to like work on it safely. So we had lost power for a few hours then, but that was it.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Interrupt.
I was gonna say on Monday, I'm sure you're about to say what the weather was like here on Monday, because it wasn't storming.
No, it wasn't storming. And like that said, like, again, anybody who's like in the region knows, like, most of Pittsburgh lost power a couple months ago for like days at a time. It was it was the day I went to get the red lightsaber tattoo. Or not the day I got the tattoo, but my artist, Wild Woman Inc. Haile Panicelli, one of the best tattoo artists to ever do it. She's done all of my tattoos except for the Kylo Ren one on my thigh. Incredible artist. She still operates out of Latrobe. So I was like, my appointment was super early in the morning. So I just like stayed with my family the evening before and then went to get the tattoo done.
Mhm.
And literally as we were packing up to go for the appointment, or for me to go into Latrobe to wait for the appointment the next morning, that's when the power went off. Like, and the storm kicked up. Like I was packing like a little backpack, change of clothes and shit, and power goes out. And again, for anybody in the region who's familiar, like the we were one of the people we had it out for I think 2 or 3 days. 2 or 3 days over here. There were some people who didn't have power for like a week.
Yeah.
And every time it stormed, like everybody in the area is like clenched their butthole, hoping that they don't lose power for an extended amount of time. I think we lost power like overnight during one of the big storms, but it came right back. But anytime I've been like on Fortnite with some of our friends or playing video games or whatever, I've had a few times where the lights flicker, and I'm like, okay, here it comes, like bracing for impact, and then it passes, and we're cool, and we're groovy. But it's been wild. It's been wild. So the fact that it was just nice and breezy and nice out on last Monday when we recorded the Superman episode, just for God, I was like, what the fuck is this, man? This is bullshit. But yeah, either way, we got to have you on there, Travis. If you want to expand upon some of your Superman thoughts once we're out of the news here, you're more than welcome to, because you didn't get as much time on that episode as I think either of us would have liked. But before we jump into the news, and a quickie non sequitur before that as well, we do have a brief word from our sponsors. It's Sunday's Bloody Mary. You guys know the drill. Sunday's Bloody Mary is the most badass Bloody Mary accoutrement in the multiverse, with their 3-time award-winning spicy Caesar mix, as well as their mild and traditional mixes if the spice ain't for you. This former bartender swears by only one Bloody Mary mix, and it is Sunday's. I do not like Bloody Mary mix. I think it tastes like watered-down tomato juice. But Sunday's is so flavorful and so good, and it is the only Bloody Mary mix that surpasses a from scratch Bloody Mary. It is so tasty. It is so savory. I swear by the spicy mix. So if you want to step up your Bloody Mary game forever, go to sundaysbloodymary.com/shop and use the code TNAP, TNAP at checkout to get 10% off your order and help out your favorite nerds while you do it. I saw actually a couple weeks ago, I did get an email notification that somebody got some. I don't know how often the code gets used. I don't know if I just don't get the notification very often, because I have not been getting a lot of TNAP email notifications at all lately, which frustrates me, because there's people will leave comments and that's how I know, and I haven't been getting them. So that said, to that person, if you're watching, let us know how you like it. But one other thing before we jump in to this Kevin Feige press conference. It is not a secret around these parts that pretty much everybody here on Team TNAP is pretty much virulently anti-AI to varying degrees. I'd say Travis and I are the most hardline, Butlerian jihad about it. But it is one of those unfortunate realities that we are surrounded by it. I do everything in my power to never, ever, ever touch it. And I avoid it. However, for those of you who don't have YouTube channels and wouldn't know this, there is an AI inspiration tab on the YouTube dashboard that will suggest video pitches to you. And every so often I will look at it, if for no other reason than morbid curiosity to see what the hell YouTube AI thinks this channel is about. And today I came across a doozy. I made the mistake of telling Travis about it before we went to air, because I kind of regret not being able to get his genuine reaction to this. So those of you who've been around a while know Travis and I, big fans of the movie Trivia Schmodown. May she rest in peace. We had a Schmodown after show called the Number One Contender. We had a lot of fun doing that show. I miss it just as much as I miss the Schmodown. Pardon my gross hiccup and me holding it back because that made it sound worse. But I miss doing Number One Contender. It's one of my favorite bits of like little TNAP trivia, especially with the popularity of the Basement Yard. Getting to talk about how the foil to Joe Santagato, one Frank Alvarez, that we had him on the show a few times, including the day Frank Alvarez played friend of mine, friend of the show, and recently engaged to dear friend Trey Mitchell. Congratulations to Trey and Jess. Jessica Schloth. They played each other the same day Trey met Jess, and the same day I interviewed Frank. And that's one of my favorite stories to tell, that everybody was linking up on one day, and a very, very psychotic game of 6 degrees of separation. But all of that said, big fans of the Schmodown over here. And I guess YouTube wants us to go back to talking about the movie trivia Schmodown, because we got a pitch for the Schmodown Hallmark movie, a fan fiction breakdown. I'm going to read this aloud. The Schmodown Hallmark movie is imagined as a heartwarming story of two unlikely competitors finding love and redemption in the most unlikely of places, the Schmodown stage. This video breaks down the heartwarming details of this fan-made script, highlighting the potential for a truly unique and entertaining film. The
Reading intriguing statement hook might have almost just given me a stroke.
The Schmodown isn't just about trivia dominance. It's a platform for unexpected stories.
It's about dominance and some romance. You know what I'm saying?
This video explores a fan-created Hallmark movie that takes two Schmodown rivals on a journey of love, friendship, and facing their past demons. Now, Travis,
a whole new meaning to TKO.
We'll have to let Eli answer this question as to whether or not Sam Levine and Rachel Cushing ever played against each other. I don't think they did, because that would be the closest we ever come to it. But it's it. Oh, I didn't look at the fucking thumbnails. Hold on. God, this is just awful.
Yeah.
Schmodown Christmas movie. So, when I read this, Travis, my first reaction, even before thinking this is cursed and unhinged, was to go, is there a Schmodown Hallmark movie fanfic that exists? Because the phrasing of it makes it sound like this is something that exists already online and that I simply didn't know about.
As someone who doesn't peruse I'm not a big fan fiction guy, generally.
Yeah.
I have to imagine that someone somewhere did.
Right. It stands to reason that at some point along the way somebody did some weird Schmodown fanfic.
Is that what's fueling this? Probably not.
It is not. The premise of this video resides inside of a hallucination of this Hallmark script existing already. And that is, in my opinion,
right. Oh my god, wait, yeah, because it's not saying that like my fan fiction. It's saying a fan fiction.
A fan fiction. So it insists that something exists that does not exist. And we all know that AI hallucination is a thing. But I've never seen it hallucinate a premise about something already. You know? It's like that. This is one of the funniest things ever. I'm so beside myself. The Schmodown Hallmark movie we deserve a fan fiction analysis. Like, because it's not telling me to pitch it myself. It's telling me to analyze this piece of fan fiction that allegedly exists. Can I save this? Can I hold on to it? Because I kind of want to explore this further. I hate AI, but there's a part of me that like wants to explore this as something wrong.
So I just googled movie trivia schmodown Hallmark movie fan fiction.
Yeah.
The problem with the movie trivia schmodown being an online like media means that like when you look that up, Google doesn't quite know what to do with all those words, so it just gives me like the Schmodown wiki, the Schmodown like YouTube channel, the subreddit. Um, but there's one link here, and I'm kind of afraid to click it. Posted on Christmas Eve of 2022, called "Not Another Hallmark Movie" and "Once Upon a Time Fanfic." Uh,
Is it like
doesn't.
Once Upon a Time, like the ABC show?
Oh, I think you might be right. Yeah, Christmas has come to Storybrooke. Yeah, you're right. This is about once. That's weird. Okay. I wonder how that got pulled up.
Your Christmas has come to Storybrooke. Oh hell. But yeah, I just wanted to bring that up. AI is much like that one guy you knew in high school, unintentionally funny all the time. And never in the way it thinks it's trying to be. But
At least it didn't call itself Mecha Hitler. You know,
the the greatest heel turn in movie trivia schmodown history, Dawn of Mecha Hitler.
it is now like because like you said, we're both very very anti AI, and I work in a corporate setting, so of course they're trying to make us use it all the time for efficiency.
Yeah.
And it is now my goal to make Microsoft Copilot call itself Mecha Hitler on my work device.
Like I said, man, I encourage you, and I think it's time for a real life Butlerian jihad. But speaking of things we don't need to do a Butlerian jihad over, that's a thing from Dune. For anybody who doesn't know what the fuck I'm talking about, that's why in Dune they don't have any computers. Because they had computers in Dune, and then they did AI, and then they went, Jesus Christ, this is an abomination, and then killed all the computers.
Yeah.
That is the Butlerian jihad. For anybody
God,
who's
one
curious as to why I
day.
keep saying that, I'm
I'm
also saying the word jihad as many times as I can to see if this video gets flagged.
Oh, it
Uh,
will.
yeah, I'm
It
sure.
will.
No, nobody's gonna see this video and hear us talk about AI schmodown Hallmark movies and Kevin Feige. Which I told Travis before we started, I came in my finest Kevin Feige cosplay. I'm wearing a Marvel hat. But Feige sat down for a little press conference ahead of Fantastic Four First Steps to kind of talk about the future of the MCU moving forward. I think this is interesting because we talked before about how Marvel is skipping Hall H this year at San Diego, which is this weekend. So expect probably 2 teen apps next week, one to talk about Fantastic Four and one to talk about San Diego Comic Con. If there's anything to really report on for our beat. But I thought it was interesting that like he's doing this the week of San Diego. Or the articles are coming out the week of San Diego, I should say, because it happened on Friday and things started trickling in on Sunday and then today, from everywhere. Like it sounds like there was a presence from just about everybody. I saw Entertainment Weekly, I saw Variety, Vanity Fair, Collider, all like everybody talking about everything, and I'm almost not sound. I don't even think it sounds conspiratorial when I say this. There's almost like a hint to this of, as though Kevin Feige's having this like fireside chat where it's like this isn't the kind of news we should take to San Diego because a lot of this is very vulnerable. This is a peek behind the curtain, that I appreciate from like the Hollywood executive class. Where it's like, okay, let's be very honest about some things. And do I think there's a lot of PR spin to some of this stuff? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Do I also think that like the online machine, when it operates in like sensational, posts and headlines, I think that's how we arrived at, what we kind of derisively refer to as the MCU is in shambles, type discourse. Yeah, the MCU is dead, long live the MCU. And like that was, I remember it was like a year or two ago whenever like Alden and I basically sat down to read through that one article where a lot of it was, oh, but this, and it's like, yeah, but that's not accurate. A lot of it is the revisionist history. A lot of it is the
Mhm.
predisposition by fans to say it's not as good as it used to be. And we've talked about all of that ad nauseum. We're not going to dissect that again. We spent most of the last news episode talking about that phenomena. But I really love and respect seeing Kevin Feige just kind of be like, listen, man, a lot has been going on and not everything has worked. And that's the point of trying to see what works. And to kind of say this before we jump into the meat and potatoes here, I hope, and I don't necessarily think this is what he's saying, but I hope this isn't Kevin Feige flinching and going, we're never going to be kind of like wildly swinging for the fences anymore. But also understanding it's time to like bring things back home a little bit and bring things back to roost. What were you getting ready to say?
So we texted before about doing this episode, and I told you at the time I had not read the article. Now I have read the main Variety article. And it doesn't necessarily feel like he's flinching. But the general vibe that I get is that in general, and like what you could assume would be the issue is that like the higher up executives that are the bane of art's existence, but unfortunately required for what we love to exist,
Yeah.
have driven this thing into the ground, and now and I say that, again, it's not actually dead, but like from his perspective, like he has to play damage. Actually, I have a good example. Magic the Gathering doesn't have a PR team. So
For
when
everything I've heard about the way that anything Wizards of the Coast touches catching on fire every other week, it astounds me that they have not made that investment.
so whenever something hits the fan, the people that cut, well, at least nowadays they usually just kind of like do a hands-off thing. Like the Wizards of the Coast page does its own media stuff, obviously. But
Yeah.
like in something particular with the game happens, a lot of times the people that cover the controversy are like the lead designers when it's not stuff that has to do with them, like talking about price increases on product, or like
Yeah.
there's been a couple instances of AI art sneaking through. Like artists were using it and not disclosing that, and otherwise they wouldn't have had the job of
Mm.
making a Magic card. Some Hasbro and Wizards ad material has used AI art, which again isn't as like they can do their best to fight against that, but like Mark Rosewater, the lead designer of Magic, doesn't have a say in that. Like he doesn't get to touch that. But
Yeah.
he's the one that has to run recon on. Yeah, man, the screwed up thing happened. Like I wish there
Yeah.
was more I could do about it. That is what it felt like reading this article. That Kevin Feige was like, everything you're complaining about, I also dislike, and it wasn't anyone's, like it wasn't my fault. It wasn't the people making the movies and TV shows' fault. But you're never going to understand that. And again, not in the like point finger way, but like the people that are mad about it aren't ever going to understand that. They're just going to blame people of color and women. So,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah. Or,
here we are.
declare things dead, like again, not here to cape for people whose lives will never truly be affected outside of being annoyed by online discourse or whatever, but just in the name of the discourse being so ugly that it makes being a fan hard. We got to look back like that big investor day, like the bane of every Star Wars fan's existence at this point. A Lando project that feels like it's never going to get made, that has gone from movie to TV back to movie, a droids thing, Rogue Squadron, which feels like it's being reworked in the Starfighter, we'll see. All of these projects that were announced and never went. Rangers of the New Republic, a show announced at the same exact time, a Cara Dune show announced at the same exact time that Gina Carano got fired. It's a lot of these were things that like Lucasfilm in particular was like, oh yeah, we have ideas. We have ideas percolating. Mm-hmm. And because of the nature of entertainment journalism at this point and how it operates, is that like the existence of an idea is news now.
Yes.
And sometimes for better and sometimes for worse. Like, we as fans, we get excited to hear, oh, something is being percolated. That in and of itself is sometimes very exciting. But there's other times where it's like, I don't think they would want people to know we have an idea for something when it's like all we have is an idea and nothing beyond that. We have the barest of bones to present for something. Let's not run into the world and tell people that it's coming, on a much smaller scale, much smaller scale. I didn't start publicly talking about the fact that I've been working on what will be the first video essay for the channel until I had finished the first draft of the script and Mitch agreed to help me edit. Because I have written checks that the channel never cashed before. And this is a very small operation, so I can get away with that. And I can put up with getting the occasional DM or Discord message saying, hey, when are you doing this? We talked about it last week. We were like, oh yeah, Dave's going to come back on and talk about phase 2 of his DCU pitch. And it's almost 2 years later. And one of the most recent comments on the episode was, hey, when are you guys going to do that? On last week's Superman episode, not the video itself, So like, I am sympathetic to the idea of we have an idea. And it's almost like if there was somebody who ran Nerd Academy who I answered to and went, hey, announce the video you have an idea for and give and start telling people the runtime, and like give everybody like the basic outline of it while you're still figuring out what exactly it's going to become. I would fucking hate that. I can't imagine doing that when you have gajillions of dollars on the line and a shit ton of like, again, below the line people whose job and livelihood depends on shit actually getting made and like promising the world work is coming, things are coming, and knowing you can't make it happen. So I like to see this kind of conversation happening. So let's jump into the articles themselves. So a lot of this is from the Variety coverage. Yeah, all three of the ones we're covering are from Variety. So I'll kind of jump in here. Again, this is a big press conference Feige did with a number of the big trades. I'm kind of jumping into the middle article here. We produced 50 hours of stories between 2007 and 2019. But after Avengers Endgame concluded, we've had well over 100 hours of stories and half the time. That's too much. Referring to how there is 127 hours of material from the Multiverse Saga in its entirety. Feige said the company entered a period of experimentation and evolution of the kinds of movies it was making, leading to projects like Eternals and Shang-Chi: The Legend of the Ten Rings. Quote, I've always thought if you take success and don't experiment with it and don't risk it, then it's not worth it. What we also ended up focusing on because of Disney Plus was expansion. And it's that expansion that I think led people to say it used to be fun, but now do I have to know everything about all of these? And if I may offer a hot take for a second.
Ooh, I'm ready. Because we might have the same hot take.
Fuck you. Yeah, you do. I like fuck you. Yeah, you do. Mixed with, and in reality, we all know that you don't. Because people have been complaining about this since the Infinity Saga.
Yeah.
There has been the complaint of, oh, well, I have to go see Guardians of the Galaxy to understand Black Panther, don't I? No, you don't. No, you don't. I listen, I understand that the MCU has gotten really overwhelming. Like in recent time, and part of it is just because of my own schedule and like frankly my own like mental health and feeling like too spread out. Um among many things. It's not nothing to do with necessarily just the channel or anything, because that's not the case. But like this is the first time I've let like MCU stuff get away from me a little bit and then chased to catch up with it. I did a little bit of that with Daredevil. I still haven't seen Ironheart yet because I haven't had a chance to. Granted, it came out at a time for me where I just didn't have the chance to watch it, um, but like I'll get to it and I'll watch it. And I just think it's weird that all of a sudden there's like a taboo about making things that are a part of a thing.
It's
I
yeah.
like, and again, like part of it, and maybe it's because general audiences don't understand this, but the only people I've seen complain about this are people who claim to love this shit. But like, it functions like comic books. If you don't want to read the Nick Fury political thriller story, but you just want Thor, then you can just read Thor. And if Thor shows up in another thing, you can pick that up if you want to, but you can also just not. You can just read Thor. And if Thor continues to cross over with that and it confuses you, then check it out. If not, like I just don't understand. I understand that it is too much, like for a movie studio, and that they're spreading themselves too thin. And again, like the creatives should maintain the authority to say we want to pull back a little bit. I respect that decision if that's the direction they go in, but like I don't understand the whole like, do I have to watch this to understand it? Yes. Yes, you do. But also you don't, because not everything is connected. I would never. I'm sorry. I would never, like, as somebody who's never seen a James Bond movie, I would never sit down and just watch No Time to Die and be angry at the movie because I haven't seen at least the other Daniel Craig movies. The only Fast and Furious movie I ever watched was Hobbs and Shaw. And I sat down to watch that knowing I had zero context for anything going on because I have not seen 5 minutes of any other Fast and Furious movie. Like I don't know. I don't maintain the for lack of a better term, entitlement to sit down to watch something from a franchise that spans the like almost 2 decades now and get pissy because I don't understand what's going on. But sorry, what were you getting ready to say?
Pretty much that. Here's the thing. When I hear that, my default, like the thing that comes to mind, the thing that boils up first, that informs my emotional response, is you telling me about seeing Dark Phoenix in theaters and how there was a person sitting behind you passionately waxing poetic about how that movie was in the MCU.
I completely forgot about that until right
I've
now.
never forgotten that moment because it is the perfect encapsulation of every person I've ever talked to the MCU with, except for like you and the very small group of people. Like the average person does not have any fucking idea what's going on in the MCU. Almost has never had any idea about what goes on in the industry around it. And frankly, it doesn't matter because they keep making billion-dollar hits.
Except for the fact that they haven't, like in recent time, and we'll talk about that. But like, you're right.
But
Like, I
okay,
understand.
my response to that is none of the movies, like, they haven't, of the MCU, what's hit $1 billion? If that's going to be our metric, right? Endgame and Infinity War, Avengers, I think Age of Ultron did it, and Black Panther. I think that's it, and I'm willing to be wrong. I just totally turned my camera.
Okay. Endgame, Infinity War, No Way Home.
Oh, and the Spider-Man movies.
Yeah. Avengers, Age of Ultron, Black Panther, Deadpool and Wolverine, Iron Man 3, Civil War, Far From Home, Captain Marvel, Multiverse of Madness,
Iron Man
Homecoming,
3 made $1 billion.
Guardians 2, Wakanda Forever, Ragnarok, Guardians 3, Guardians, Love and Thunder, Winter Soldier,
Adjusted for inflation.
Doctor Strange. I don't know. I'm going off of the top grossing superhero films on Wikipedia.
Okay, I trust that.
Dark World, Iron Man 2, Ant-Man and the Wasp. And I'm reading from the top of the list down, as you could tell from Ant-Man and the Wasp being at the end of the list.
That sounds like too many.
Only like 3 or 4 of these hit $1 billion from phase 4 and 5. Because like No Way Home, Deadpool, Wolverine.
Well, and we can also there are several things in this
Honda,
article,
Volume 3.
like regardless of if it's Kevin, I almost called him Kevin saying it, or the author of the article, God rest their soul, Adam Berry, Angelique Jackson, and Brett Lang. Brent, sorry, I didn't pronounce the N. Whoever's writing this is, of those three, or it's a mix of the three, I'm not sure. Some things that they point out that are like their statistics and technically correct, but also misleading in a vacuum, as most data is. I think Solid Crow on that one, at least.
Yeah, but even then, like it's not it is complicated. It's just like there's not a one size fits all. This is a situation of many truths that is informed by the fact that you and I resent the public accepting Marvel is dead as an idea. Also, one of the most important quotes that I skipped over by accident was Kevin talking about how everything is a 5-year plan. I think it goes to 2032 right now is what they have in mind. That was an important note that I missed out on earlier.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, like it doesn't matter. If you want to go see the movie, go see the movie.
Yeah.
Like I need people to trust themselves and their ability to understand what's happening in the plot.
Yeah.
Without just having someone shit the plot in their mouth for them. Like, I need you to trust yourself that you can watch a movie. I was thinking about this, like, why I think Superman's going to do well with kids as well as again, Superman, best superhero movie of all time. The more I sit on it, the more I lock in on that, and it's absolutely biased, and I understand people not agreeing with me on that. I've also been rewatching Justice League, like the cartoon. I
thought you meant 1.5 hour chunks of the Snyder Cut.
No, I'm not that suicidal. The moment you ever hear me say I'm watching a Zack Snyder film of my own volition, you know something's deeply wrong and you need to help.
Maybe I'll walk out of here tomorrow and you never see me again. That's really what I want to do.
Exactly. But like, kids don't care. And like, rewatching Justice League also reinformed this idea of like, kids don't need explanations on why shit's happening.
Yeah.
They get it. Right, they get the plot, and maybe that the meaning of that is that all of this is actually for kids, and we're adults talking about shit for kids. But like, when adults care this much, trust yourself. Like, you probably got through high school. You've at least read one book in your life. You can watch an MCU movie and understand the plot. I promise.
There is a conversation about media literacy and the ability to understand and engage and comprehend that is beyond the purview of this episode. That put a pin in this part of the conversation that we may unfortunately have to revisit.
Yeah. Oh yeah. But yeah, and again, I feel bad because I don't want to just rip and Kevin Feige's a jackass and an idiot for saying something like that, because he's not. But like, that's my knee-jerk emotional reaction. And then as for me, as I kept reading the article, it became clear that he was like, man, these fucking executives, am I right? And it's like, okay, at least he gets it. At least he knows.
Yeah. He did go on to praise Superman at its
My goat.
125 million domestic, 407 globally right now. It's clear that superhero fatigue, right? He also said that he liked it a lot and then said, I love that you just jump right into it. You don't know who Mr. Terrific is. Tough. You'll figure it out. This is a fully fleshed out world, which feels like it is in direct opposition to the thing he said earlier, but we'll keep going. He continues to talk about volume kind of being the bane of Marvel at the moment. He said, for the first time ever, quantity trumped quality. We spent 12 years working on the Infinity Saga, saying that's never going to happen to us. We always had more characters than we could possibly make because we weren't going to make a movie a month. Suddenly, there's a mandate to make more. And we go, well, we do have more. Sorry.
Can I cut you for a second? Because
Please.
I wish he had worded this a little differently. Because I understand what his point is. The phrasing he's using makes it sound like the quality issue is the result of the choice of project and the people behind that project. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
I mean, again, I think it's interesting because I think I am reading what he's saying as what he's saying and what I know he means. And I think these are one of those rare instances where, like, not that you don't like catch this, like the subtext and how things could be spun, but like normally I'm the one harping on, like, stop saying this. It sounds like you're giving ground to people who don't deserve your concession. And I think you're catching more of that than I am right now because I didn't get that vibe, but I see what you're going. I see what you're seeing.
Yeah, and we both do this with everybody else in our lives. They're like, and this is the reasonable thing. Where, like, as I tell people, hey, you trust yourself to understand the plot of a Marvel movie. I also tell people, hey, it's cool if you don't know the behind baseball of it all. Like,
yeah.
Like, you literally, my roommate and I just had a conversation. We both got home and we were talking about MCU stuff, talking about this article, and he was like, why haven't we had a Gambit movie? I told him, well, they bought Fox in 2019. They couldn't do it before then. He's like, well, it's been 6 years. I was like, well, how would that have worked logistically? Like,
yeah.
They
plus all of the constraints that Marvel had with the X-Men, that like they could not do anything with those characters and recast them without doing a huge fucking payout to a lot of people, was the word on the street. Now all of those people are coming back one last time, so who the fuck knows how accurate that was. But yeah, there's so many factors as to why that
right
happened.
Things that we don't even know that, but like we can infer we're at least kind of present to inform that. And like, I don't expect people to understand that. But I think the like quantity over quality, and maybe it is because that is one of the talking points of people that are trying to do the thing my name is. But like, because what he is saying and what you are understanding and what we're both understanding is like the issue is that the execs are saying do this and put it out and get it out now, and time isn't being given, and like to give care means you had time to care.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And so the issue with, shows that underperformed or whatever metrics they're measuring, my brain goes to She-Hulk when I talk to people about She-Hulk. She-Hulk's tied for my favorite Marvel show.
Same.
I loved She-Hulk so much. I thought it was so funny. It was such an incredible use of TV as a medium for them. And people are like, oh, I didn't watch it. I'm like, that's cool. I recommend you give it a try. It's not going to mean it's going to fit for you. But like, the idea of, oh, it's bad and it was bad quality. It's like, well, no, it wasn't. The effects were good. The writing was good. Like, you can't. It comes out as a bad faith argument. I know for Feige it's not, but I wish he would have been more damning. And like, obviously, I'm asking him to be damning of his bosses, which like isn't going to happen. But
yeah, no, I hear you. I hear you, and I agree with you on most of that. Starting in 2023, audiences began to sour on Marvel's content on the big and small screen. Only 22 films in the Infinity Saga grossed less than 500 million. Since the pandemic, however, 7 out of 13 movies in the MCU have failed to reach that milestone. Also, we ourselves have talked so much about how the pandemic to this day is still affecting box office, but again, those are horses we've beaten with it beyond
Yeah.
their death.
That's what I mean by the data lying, right? Where it's
Yeah.
like, yeah, you look like, oh, these movies aren't performing financially, and it's like, well, yeah, because we had a global pandemic and people realize that going to the movies can suck, regardless of the movie you're seeing.
Yeah. Viewership for Marvel streaming shows, meanwhile, has also steadily declined, according to data from Luminate. Most recently, Thunderbolts, which earned some of the best reviews of Marvel has had in recent years, only grossed 380 million globally. Kevin Feige goes on to say, Thunderbolts, I thought, was a very good movie, but nobody knew that title, and many of those characters were from a TV show. Some audiences were still feeling that notion of, I guess I had to have seen these other shows to understand who this is. If you actually saw the movie, that wouldn't be the case. And we made the movie, so that's not the case. But I think we still have to make sure the audience understands that. To that end, Feige spent an hour discussing everything from budgets, TV schedules, and when Marvel greenlights projects to when or if audiences could see Miles Morales, Ms. Marvel, Charlize Theron's Clea again. He also provided an update on the status of Blade with Mahershala Ali and confirmed the widespread fan speculation that 2027's Avengers Secret Wars will not only conclude the multiverse saga, but provide a, quote, reset for the entire MCU, including a new cast for the X-Men. So we're going to take a break from this article, talk about some of those other ones on the side. So, with regards to Blade, which again, kudos to Feige for just sitting down and talking about fucking Blade.
This is, I wonder if he is doing, like, he mentioned Superman. Like, James Gunn has been so forward about everything happening in DC, and I think he knows he has to be, or else he risks running the train into a hill. Like,
Yeah.
you obviously you can't do the the whole slate thing that we used to do and pretend like those are all going to get made. And Feige talks about that in this article as well, that and we talked about it at the top too. You have a concept of an idea and a logo, and you flash it on a screen at a Hall H, and suddenly everyone's, which is what happened with Thunderbolts. Thunderbolts had nothing to do with the TV bullshit. Thunderbolts was, you were making a movie based off a named team from the comics that had nothing to do with that character in this movie, that was in development hell for an extra couple of years.
Yeah.
Like, there were so many things that had nothing to do with the TV shows.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think this might be our new normal of just because Gunn has been very forward about Brave and the Bold script, not where it that's taking a minute to come together. The Authority taking a minute to come together. Wonder Woman movie further along than I thought. Right?
Yeah, but also but in the name of fairness, there is also shit that James Gunn has thrown out there that is going fucking nowhere currently.
Yeah,
like
but at least
Paradise
saying
Lost.
that.
Yeah, stuff like that. But I mean, I haven't heard him talk about Paradise Lost at all yet. And acknowledge the fact that he has a 3,000 years ago Themyscira show that has not heard word one since his big video announcing everything. Not that that's bad necessarily. I just I also, and this isn't even a critique of you, I don't want to come across that way, but this is me kind of putting my foot down at nerd culture, because I refuse to let DC experience the Andor effect. I'm not fucking doing this again.
Oh yeah.
I'm not doing this where it's oh, look at this bright, shiny thing that I that is doing what I said I wanted this whole time, as opposed to the thing that I've known for too long and have had time to sour on. We're not doing this. I am not letting Kevin Feige, who's being strapped down to a table by Bob's Iger and Chapek, to deliver.
Yeah.
Well, James Gunn has been given carte blanche because the franchise he's taking over for has been in the fucking gutter for the last 10 years. I am not letting that fucking slide. I know that's not what you're doing.
Clear.
I'm just saying culturally.
Yes. Hey, you know what? I did it to him. You're doing it to me. This works. Yeah, Gunn's doing it because, like I said, he has to. He has no choice.
Yeah.
Feige's doing it right now because he knows he has to.
Yeah. James Gunn has the freedom to do that. DC has let him DC has let DC has let James Gunn have the amount of power Kevin Feige has today
at the start.
at the start. Like, imagine if Kevin Feige had the pool he has to just do whatever the fuck he wants at the beginning of the MCU. I'll tell you what that would have looked like. We would have had Black Panther and Captain Marvel movies before 2017.
Mm-hmm.
You know, James Gunn doesn't have to dance around that. He has a lot of other hurdles to deal with at WB because we know Dave Zaslav will shoot a movie in the back of the head for a tax write-off like it was nothing. But I think they also realize that like they need the franchises. Yeah. They need this. And they trust, I think they're smart enough to trust James Gunn to just cook and not impede him. But, you know, a shoe could drop at any minute at WB.
Yes, I agree. And I think Feige even, like, to that extent, doesn't even have that level of freedom.
No.
And again, I know you don't know that. I mean, I know you don't believe that. But, like, yeah, like he said that publicly. We covered it on the show. I wish he could. I wish he had the level of freedom that James Gunn seems to have. And even then, like, it would be different because Feige's not a writer and director, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
But with the Blade stuff, Mahershala is still attached. Feige said,
sewn on by his skin, that guy.
Feige told a room full of journalists gathered at the Marvel Studios on Friday about the project, which would see two-time Oscar winner assume the role of originally originated by Wesley Snipes, who played the part in the 90s and 2000s as well as in Deadpool and Wolverine. The obstacle was Ryan Coogler called and said, "We'd love some costumes for Sinners," referring to costumes created by Ruth E. Carter for an abandoned version of the Blade movie that they commissioned the costume for and then sold them back to Carter for Coogler's vampire movie. We said, "Take him, man, no problem. He's a good friend. Take our costumes. We'll hold off on the movie." Now, what I really like here, and this is a subtle moment from Feige where he's doing the thing that I think you wish he was doing more of, where Feige is acknowledging online chatter, because Blade has unfortunately, by hook, by crook, whatever, become the butt of many, 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 many jokes of how can you not make this fucking movie work? And what we're witnessing is a media landscape that loves to lampoon Marvel, that loves to come for Marvel's throat, and not accept any context as to what's actually going on. They just want to go, Marvel is failing because it can't be better after Endgame. Feige here is talking about how they have been writing and retooling a script that they want to love. That he is taking, you know, the same approach that James Gunn has. That unless I read this script and go, fuck yes, it's not moving forward. And, you know, he talks about, I don't know if it's in this one or one of the other articles, but he talks about how there were basically two versions of Blade that they had 4 different scripts for. 2 were period pieces, 2 were set in the modern day. And eventually they decided they, like this says here, abandoned version, that they passed on doing the period piece version of Blade. Meaning all of these like 1920s, 1930s era costumes are no longer needed. So when Ryan Coogler, who probably knows the inside baseball as to what's going on with Marvel's second most popular black superhero, who may not be directly involved in the project, but I'd be shocked if nobody's asked for Coogler's fucking opinion on any of this.
I wouldn't be shocked if he's a fucking producer on it.
Well, I mean, Kevin goes on to say that like Coogler isn't going to have anything to do with it just because he's focused on Black Panther 3, which like fair, but still I would not be surprised if somebody isn't, in the same way that like making a Star Wars comparison, and this is one of my favorite little nuggets about The Force Awakens. The reason why the duel between Rey and Kylo Ren is the way it is in the movie is largely due to writer-director Ava DuVernay. Because J.J. Abrams is good friends with Ava DuVernay, and he like showed her like what they had in the script and what they had filmed so far, and she was like suggesting doing more punch up on a lot of those little beats between Rey and Kylo. You know, I would not be surprised if there is an Ava DuVernay Starkiller based fight effect happening with Coogler, just because he is such a legendary filmmaker at this point. He has such a particular vision. He is the man who made Black Panther a household name the world over. You know, I would be shocked if they're making a fucking Blade movie and no one has gone, hey, Ryan, what do you think? Not enough that he'd get a credit in the same way that Ava DuVernay doesn't have a credit on The Force Awakens as a writer or a story by or anything like that, but just a little, hey, between professionals, what are you thinking? You know, so I'm not surprised that when they went, hey, the period vampire movie isn't happening. Ryan, you're buddies with everybody at Marvel Studios. Hey, can I steal those from you if you're not going to use these costumes for a period piece vampire movie for my period piece vampire movie? But it gets flanderized, it gets lampooned as Marvel is struggling so much to make a Blade movie that the only way they can make money off of it is selling costumes they're never going to use. And I resent the shit out of that framing. And I respect Feige for going on a very subtle counter assault to add a very crucial detail. You know, to go, this wasn't, we don't know what we're doing, so we're just cutting and running and the movie's never going to happen. It was, hey, we're not making a movie that looks like this anymore. And I think that's a very, very, very important distinction when we're having these kinds of conversations. And I think this is him very subtly doing what I think you are saying you wish he would do more of here, and be more forceful about, yes, this isn't working, but you're wrong about why. Feige explained the prolonged delays on Blade were a symptom of Marvel's overexpansion. How executive characterizes the studio's response to Disney's mandate to produce more content at the onset of Disney Plus streaming service. Feige hesitated to use a dramatic term like fallout to characterize the resulting situation, but, quote, for the first time ever, we talked about the quantity over quality, and then a lot of the other quotes about that we read earlier. So as Marvel began to reevaluate its development process, the Blade movie, which was announced in 2019 and originally was intended to hit theaters in 2023, was one of the projects that stalled. Quote, we didn't want to just put leather on him and have him start killing vampires. It had to be unique. It fell into the time when we started pulling back and saying only accept insanely great, and it wasn't insanely great at the time. He continued, we didn't feel like, as we often do, you can have a good script and make it a great script through production. We didn't feel confident that we could do that on Blade, and we didn't want to do that to Mahershala, and we didn't want to do that to us. Blade was originally set to begin shooting in 2022, but director Bassem Tariq exited the project in September, roughly 2 months before cameras were supposed to roll. Jan Damange then signed on to direct, only to exit the film in June 2024. There is currently no director attached. Ali insists he's still game. And then it kind of talks about, writers coming on and off. Speaking of sinners, despite the internet's desire to see it, Feige said Coogler is not in the running to helm the picture and seems surprised that anyone was pushing for that to happen. The filmmaker has Black Panther 3 to focus on, which Feige confirmed in his progress, though he has no date that has been revealed. We know when on the timeline it is, and if he's willing to, if he's telling you he doesn't, that's perfect. Feige said with a knowing smile. And then he said that he regrets announcing Blade in hindsight, but he doesn't regret doing it just because, Blade just ended up being the victim of circumstance and how everything is, fallen. Feige then pointed to tremendous amounts of curveballs the studio faced between 2019 and today. There were the hurdles that affected the entire industry, like COVID-19 and strikes, as well as Marvel-specific tribulations like friends and stars dying and storylines shifting people because people didn't respond to them the way we wanted to, and then Kang and the fallout of the ability to use him. So that's the Blade side of it. One moment. We are back after a quick bio break, and I took off the hat because it is too small for my giant fucking head, and it's actually surprisingly hot in there.
The hat, just the hat.
But jumping back into the main article, there will be a lot less TV. While Marvel's feature output is slowing down to at most 3 films a year, a pace the MCU first reached in 2017, its TV output is cooling off even further, with often just a single live-action show per year. And the shows that they do make will have far less overlap with future films to disabuse audiences from the expectation that they have to watch everything to follow what's happening in any MCU project. I'm calling it now. After 2 years of this being the case, people will go back to demanding that they're more interconnected. By way of example, Feige cited the Marvel TV shows of the 2010s like Daredevil and Jessica Jones on Netflix and Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and Agent Carter on ABC, which were produced by separate, now defunct divisions of Marvel, so they had a tenuous connection to the MCU, if at all. Quote, I think allowing a TV show to be a TV show is what we're returning to, he said. Asked if the events of Thunderbolts, when most of the population of Manhattan was enveloped in an inky blank shroud of depressive nothingness, would affect season 2 of Daredevil Born Again, Feige had a simple answer. No. Which, like, again, that's already how shit was happening. But sure, we'll act like this is the new development. Getting back is accidentally scrolled all the way back up. At the time, the line between film and TV is not ironclad. Jon Bernthal will play his Daredevil Born Again character, Frank Castle Punisher, in both an upcoming TV special and opposite Tom Holland in 2026's Spider-Man Brand New Day. Again, characters are son of a bitch. My touchpad is so sensitive anymore. I like move my hand a little bit and I start highlighting the entire article. Where we have great actors playing great characters, I think it would be fun to see them in multiple places, but the output will be much less. And then he went on to say, I don't like when things sit on shelves. It stinks. Talking about how Wonder Man and Ironheart both got caught up in this TV restructuring, and went on to say that, they developed Wonder Man before Apple TV's The Studio, which is a satire of like the big franchise machine, and that Wonder Man is going to be very similar to The Studio. And he's like, because it sat on a shelf, it feels like Wonder Man is trying to be The Studio when Wonder Man was made before The Studio. Which I also think is a very frustrating cross to bear there. Now, on the topic of Miles Morales and woke nerd shit, let's see how long it takes me for my blood to boil. Since the massive success of 2018's Black Panther, Marvel has made a concerted effort to produce projects centered around women, people of color, and queer characters. Those titles include... You already know if you're watching this. Several of these projects have been successful, but many have not, commercially or critically. More to the point, with Marvel's decision to dramatically reduce its output, it's been unclear what kind of future many of these characters will have in the MCU, if any at all. Pressed on this question, Feige appeared unconcerned. Marvel represents the world outside your window. I've always said it, before DEI and woke became a thing, and after DEI and woke became a thing. Are we after? I don't understand how that's phrased. I don't think so.
I think the quote, because I also, when I read that quote, I was like,
maybe if I say it out loud, I won't feel like I'm having a stroke, because I've read it to myself so many times.
I think he's like describing it as like the era of calling things DEI and woke.
Yeah.
And that's like, he's saying after, but he's like, well, we're not really after it yet.
Oh.
I think is what he's saying.
Okay. Yeah, you're right. You're right. I read that so many times it didn't make sense to me. He singled out Ms. Marvel and the Marvel star Iman Vellani as one of the greatest bits of casting we've ever done. I can't wait to see her somewhere. Where that will be is less evident. At the end of the Marvels, she starts clearly trying to set up the Young Avengers with Kate Bishop. They asked what we will see the Young Avengers in. He said potentially, as to what's on the horizon. In that case, it comes down to where's the best story and where's the best strange alchemy. Who would be fun to see with them? Each other, because that's what the Young Avengers are, but also mixing it up more. Feige was more definitive about the potential of another highly anticipated Marvel character, Spider-Man's Miles Morales, showing up in the MCU in the near future.
He said that, too woke, too DEI.
Woke, no Miles Morales. He's got lightning powers and he can turn invisible because they want Black Spider-Man to be more powerful than White Spider-Man. Sorry. Nerd Trump took over for a second. Until Sony Pictures, which holds the rights to the film rights to the character, completes his animated Miles trilogy with 2027's Beyond the Spider-Verse. Feige explains we've been told to stay away, which unfortunately makes sense.
Yeah.
I don't like, I like to shit on Sony as much as the next guy, but I get it.
Yeah, it is the like how is Gunn gonna juggle having two Batmans, which like I'm sure they'll be fine. God forbid there's a second Batman, and like you could say the same thing about Miles Morales.
And I understand Sony wanting to corner the market on him because live action Peter Parker is the MCU now.
Yeah,
so I understand them wanting to corner Miles.
I absolutely understand it. And again, I'm not disagreeing with the decision from a business standpoint, especially when like animated movies tend to not do as well. I don't necessarily think they have to worry about that with Spider-Verse, but of course, now that it's been delayed again, yeah.
Like I said, I'm of two minds with it. I understand Sony wanting to be like, no, like we want Miles to ourselves for now.
Yeah.
Let us finish our story with Miles, especially because when these movies come out, they do, especially when they're well received, they do permanently affect the image of the character, and shit inevitably bleeds into other material.
Yeah.
So I do get it. In the same way that like once across or beyond this into the Spider-Verse came out, it was kind of the dawn of like, and granted, it happened a little bit in the comics, but now when you talk about Miles Morales, he is Peter's like sidekick / protege, and not the guy who stepped up after Peter Parker fucking died. Like granted, Into the Spider-Verse does both.
Yeah,
but it has Miles take over for a fallen Peter Parker as well as being Peter's Padawan. But like, you look at the games, you look at the movies, like this whole idea of Peter takes Miles as an apprentice has become the way we think of him. And I like that. Frankly, I like that dynamic more than Miles just stepping up to the plate after Peter dies. And I do think that what finally sold me on that was the games. Because I love, surprise, surprise, the Star Wars guy loves the student-teacher relationship very much. But like, I love the ending of the Miles Morales game where like you see how much Peter has to learn from Miles.
Mm-hmm.
And how much Miles helps Peter in the second game, like in terms of growth, that Miles changes Peter in a way that he never could have changed without having a prodigy like that. And I really do appreciate that specific new take on Miles as a character. So I get it, in the same way that like it's kind of an open secret that the reason why we haven't had incredibly popular, handsome actor who looks exactly like his video game counterpart, Cameron Monaghan and Cal Kestis, show up in anything in Star Wars outside of a brief cameo in Star Wars Brotherhood, where he just walks by Anakin Skywalker. And they don't even name him. They just say Anakin saw a Lasat Jedi Master and a red-headed Padawan. Which like obviously is Jarod and Cal Kestis, but they didn't even say his name. And like a book made to be the in-between for Fallen Order and Survivor. It's because EA doesn't want anybody to touch Cal until the trilogy's over.
Mm-hmm.
Now, granted, it makes more sense there because that is the shared continuity. And EA and Respawn and everybody working on those games, they don't want to have to work around, like, oh, the Obi-Wan Kenobi show, when Obi-Wan's looking at the hidden path stuff, oh shit, Sarah Junda, Eno Cordova, and Cal Kestis came through here. Like that deep, like, okay, we now have to accommodate for that. Like that's why like we don't know if Cal's alive or dead, because we can't do anything about what Cal has been up to post or pre the game until we know how the story ends. So I get that because it's more of a shared continuity thing. But I also understand being like the only place you get Miles is Sony. I get it. It disappoints me. Get this movie out so I can get Miles in the MCU.
Yeah, I'm also happy that he said this here, because now it's like, hey, temper your, because if he hadn't, when eventually we do get the next Spider-Man movie, people would be like ripping the arms off their chairs, waiting to see if Miles would be in it.
What have I been saying the whole time?
Yeah.
What have I been saying the whole time? That one woman's playing Rio Morales. Which, fuck, for all we know, could still be the case.
Right.
You
But
know,
like,
for all we know, Rio could be there. And it's
Yeah.
slowly teeing up Miles. We know Miles gets mentioned in Homecoming. We could be still like circling Miles a little bit, setting up, waiting for the moment we can finally press the button and have him show up. But like until then,
yeah.
don't expect Miles. Maybe Rio. Again, we have the moment with Prowler that made me suck the air out of the fucking theater, all those years ago. But like, it's not happening yet. And I'm glad like you said, I'm glad he said this here. The Marvel method is here to stay. It just won't be quite as expensive. DC Studios co-chief James Gunn has said repeatedly that he will only greenlight projects that have a complete script. That is a point of difference from Marvel Studios, which is sometimes announced projects with release dates before the writer has been hired, let alone before a script is completed, and famously reworks movies throughout the filmmaking process. Fantastic Four First Step star Ibn Baccarat recently told Variety that he didn't think, quote, the script was ready when the cast began filming. It began 3 weeks of rehearsal before filming. So we were sort of workshopping the movie in a way. But Feige took issue with both the comparison between Gunn's mandated DC and Marvel's approach, and that the idea that Marvel needed to radically alter how it makes its projects. Quote, we've never started a movie without a full script, and I have never been satisfied with the script that we've had. I've never been satisfied with the script that we've had. I've never been satisfied with a movie we've released. He defends Marvel's practice of plussing projects at every turn. A term of art referring to pushing for incremental improvements in the process that Feige credited to Walt Disney. Actors, both the ones that are playing these characters for the first or second time, and the characters that have played them for the 10th or 12th time, are the best in the world, and best in the world at it, and know these characters so well. If they have an idea, you want to listen to it and want to adjust it, and you want to improve it, I wouldn't change that. So, if I may, actually Kevin for a moment. Iron Man famously did not have a complete script. Granted, that was almost 20 years ago, so I won't hold that against him too much. And while that was under his purview, again, he didn't have the control he has now, but
it wasn't quite the same.
Your name was on that movie and there wasn't a fucking script, but we love Iron Man, so we let it go. Again, these whole things of like, oh, they don't have a finished script, they don't have a complete thing. Yeah, you want that going in. But like, there is room for that. Like, oh, we want to tweak this. We want to move that around. That happens in all movies. Again, James Gunn is very excited to compare his DCU to Star Wars. I don't think I need to tell our audience how much A New Hope changed in the process. A movie famously referred to as being saved in the edit.
Luke Starkiller?
Yeah. Like he was still called Luke Starkiller by the time Mark Hamill was cast. I bring it up like at least once a month. The whole fucking Aqualier Sullust monologue that never made it into the movie because it was just an ungainly fucking line that was emblematic of George's just insane way of writing dialogue. But again, I understand what people are saying here, and I think part of it is that things do change around and that is frustrating for a creative. I get that, but also like, this is just how this shit works though.
Yeah. And it is like the unfortunate optics of where we've
varying
been,
degrees, but
where like the most real change. Also, can I take a second to ask you about the Mandela effect really quick?
Sure.
Really quick. Was there ever a point in time where we, the public, thought wholeheartedly they were making Captain America and the Serpent Society? Because this is what I remember. I remember the press announcement where they went through the next, whatever, they did their thing, like, here's our next couple of movies. And at the front of that conference, they said Captain America and the Serpent Society. And then at the end of that same conference, no one had left the room and come back. They said, actually, we punked you. It's Captain America Civil War.
I don't think it was the same convention. I don't think it was the same presentation. Because I believe they had announced Captain America 3 and they were talking about Serpent Society.
Maybe.
I think Captain America 3 was like announced by the trades.
Yes.
And again, this is almost a full decade ago. So
Right. This
fully
is
faulty memory here. I think they were saying Serpent Society, but there were also rumors that Civil War was coming. And that it was like, maybe they're doing this as a placeholder so that they can be like, famous comic adaptation. Here you go.
Yeah, because like my recollection is that it was one of those like bait and switches of, we've been feeding the press, I guess, like if it was beyond just that one conference, but like you said, decade ago, like Serpent Society was a complete ploy. It was always Civil War. There was never a time where that movie was not Civil War, as far as the public knew.
I think there was a time where they did want to do Serpent Society. Because I do vaguely remember, and again, Mitch, Armin, I know you guys watch. I know at least Mitch does pretty frequently. I know Armin tunes in from time to time. You guys get in the comments, clear us up on this, because you guys you guys were actually covering this and I wasn't. I was in high school, but
well, now they're not going to because you just upset them.
I didn't do that. I started listening in junior high.
My point is that I remember like the way they showed it, and maybe they were really good at hiding it, that like it was a fake out, and yelling at Richard on mute. God damn.
Could you read my lips that clearly?
Yes.
That I yelled at Richard?
I mean, I know what you were doing. I could hear him. But
I didn't know if you could hear him. Well, shit.
But like,
Richard has a clear memory of the Serpent Society movie, despite only being born 4 years
he
ago.
He saw the rough cut, actually.
He's seen the footage of Seth Rollins playing Sidewinder in Brave New World.
Jesus. That's
still my hot take about that movie. Is I still wish it was Seth freaking Rollins playing Sidewinder and not Giancarlo. Because I love Giancarlo. He's amazing. I wish we could have saved him for something that wasn't Sidewinder. I really wish it was Seth freaking Rollins, but it is what it is.
That like, again, like the whole media ploy had been, we were always doing Civil War and we had been feeding you the wrong movie. And I've been hearing people of recent, when they talk about like changes in the timeline or whatever, of like, remember when they told us it was, or remember when the movie was Serpent Society and then they pivoted, and it's like, that's not what happened.
I don't remember. What I do remember, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, if this is misinformation, I remember that hearing that there were two versions of Civil War, one with Spider-Man and one without. And that,
I could believe
that if they couldn't crack the deal, they had a version of the movie that didn't have Peter Parker in it. But if it did work, they did have Peter. And that they basically, and that's why he can, like, you could effectively remove him from the movie and nothing change.
Right.
Is that like there's a version of that script that has all the Peter Parker scenes, and there's a version of the script that moves around them, that fills them with something else, but like doesn't have Peter in it, and like adds some. I don't remember the exact details, but that Mitch Arneen, get in the comments and clear that up.
All of that to say,
yes,
the unfortunate optics of where we've been, where pre-Endgame, the only real change-up we had ever had that I can recall, and again, we were much younger and much less involved, and the internet was a very different place. And we did not have resources like Armin and Mitch like we do now. Well, when I say that, I mean we didn't have direct access to them.
I couldn't text Armin.
Right. That the only changes were like the Inhumans movie that they announced at one point got dropped, and all of that fell into Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah.
And Infinity War Part 2 became Avengers Endgame.
Yeah.
When the Part 1, Part 2ification of big blockbusters brought on by, I believe, Harry Potter was dying out.
Joanne.
Yeah. Yeah, for once a call that I don't really think was her fault, but I'm going to blame her anyway because fuck turfs.
The
But
continued slander of J.K. Rowling by the Nerd Academy podcast.
it's not slander of it's just hate.
You know what I thought? You're
What?
right, and it's deserved. You know what I thought you were going to do for a second?
What?
I thought you were going to hit the J. Jonah Jameson. If it's in print, it's a libel. Which this isn't in print, but it's one of my favorite line deliveries from J.K. Simmons in those movies because he says it through a cigar.
Yeah.
He's like, it's not slander. If it's in print, it's a libel.
Hell yeah. But
Those are
yeah,
my favorite lines in that whole fucking trilogy.
We move into post-COVID where like COVID happened and then an actor abused their partner and got arrested for it. And he was the linchpin of the storyline, which I know he gets into in this article about other things that I don't.
Which proves a theory you had it during the Robert Downey Jr. announcement.
That this was always the plan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If he's not bullshitting, Travis Grossman was proven right on a big swing you made a year ago on the most embarrassing live stream I've ever done. And that's counting losing to Scotty because I was very angry still about the Acolyte cancellation.
Yeah, I do believe that was always like him coming back as Doom was always the plan. The fuck was that? Something just banged on my wall, but I'm 15 feet in the air. I don't know how that happened.
I think a bird was drinking.
I guess. I should clarify I don't have neighbors on that wall, but also my outside wall. But the yeah, like there are a lot of and you know he mentioned it in the Blade thing of Chadwick Boseman's passing, where like there's these things that you just can't account for. With that, when you have a 5-year plan or whatever, like yeah, the whole thing's out the window now. Yeah, you have to change things on things that are probably already way deeper into production than you'd like them to be, given the circumstances.
Yeah. Jumping back into the article here, Feige continued. I know there are filmmakers, James in my experience isn't one of them, but maybe he is now, who say, if you want to be a part of my movie, you just say the words and you just stay here the entire schedule in case we need you. We have so many actors, we can't do that. We don't do that. We give people a window and keep to that window. Marvel has changed course on at least one major aspect of the films, their cost. After budgets began to balloon following Endgame, partly due to the pandemic, partly due to feeling the need to deliver a level of spectacle, the studio started grinding down the budget in 2023. Feige said Marvel's films from Deadpool and Wolverine through the Fantastic Four have been upwards of a third cheaper than they were about 2 years ago, which, good. Feige said Marvel executives even met with teams behind the 2023 sci-fi epic The Creator, which Rogue One and Jurassic World Rebirth director Gareth Edwards made for a staggeringly low $80 million to learn how they pulled it off. I think everybody's in that state of mind, at least at Disney, Feige said, of belt tightening. I think it has to get better. Is AI going to do that? I don't know.
Take a stance.
Take
a stance, Feige. Say no.
That is the one statement that I really have mixed opinions about because I can't tell what he means. I can't tell if that's him in a pithy way going, I don't know if AI is the answer, or him going, I don't know, maybe we need it. Because
I read it as the agnostic, like, well, maybe it's just the technology at the time, and like we need to adapt around it. Like, I take it as the agnostic version because I've had this conversation a lot with people, as you have probably guessed, based on again being in a corporate position now where everyone talks about AI like it's the second coming of fucking Christ. And
what do you mean, Travis? You don't like the pitch for the movie trivia Schmodown Hallmark movie fanfic analysis that exists?
That is the greatest thing AI has ever given us. I'm not going to lie. Like, if I had to rate it, that's it. That's number one. And everything else is it just drops out.
No, I can tell you the greatest thing AI ever gave us. Keep talking and I'm going to pull it up.
God. But like most
cursed.
people I talk to in general are agnostic about pretty much everything in their life. It's really depressing. But specifically with AI, the general consensus I get is not like raw go AI, but like kind of this defeatist, well, it's here, we should learn to use it and we should accept it in or like figure out how to use it correctly. And it's like there is no correct way. It's destroying our fucking environment and
Yeah.
like using more power than we ever thought possible by a thing that is actively bad for us. Like imagine if you could smoke cigarettes at triple the pace and cut down forests while you did it. Like, wouldn't that be so cool? So anyway, AI, right? Like that's you're rotting your brain and decimating our water supply and our climate. And I can't like I say you because it sounds accusatory, and I got on the pedestal and I'm going to step back off of it. But like the hottest thing Kevin Feige could do for Marvel, and I know he doesn't have this power, but if he just walked out and did one of these and just said we're never using AI, if he said the words "fuck AI," I would buy stock in Marvel. I don't even think I can do that. I'd buy Disney.
You can't.
Stock.
You'd have to buy stock in the Walt Disney Corporation.
I'd do it.
But
I'd do it. If he said that, I'd fucking do it.
I am inclined to agree with you. As I've said before, I'm not a fan of AI. Speaking of, real quick to set up what I was saying, not everything in this picture is AI. You'll be able to tell what is. Just gonna let everybody soak in terrifying grimace Thanos Scotty J-Ro. That was a photo edited of him as a joke, actually of him in line at the Roosevelt's booth at Star Wars Celebration. But no, I agree with the environmental concerns, obviously. I agree with the plagiarism concerns, obviously. When it comes to generative AI and its regards to like, education and its use there and how it's rotting our brains, I agree, obviously. I also think that, as I've said before, it is one of those tools that if it is regulated in a safe way, in a people first is the parlance that's getting thrown around with regards to regulation. If a people first approach is taken, where it is, hey, if you, the artist, if this would help you, it is a tool in your kit. And I have less umbrage with that. It does not eliminate the other issues I have with that.
Yeah,
I for sure. I'm just saying
Yeah.
I'm more sympathetic to an artist who is like actually doing the work, who that would benefit in like the small monotony, like monotony eliminating ways.
Yeah.
As opposed like something built into the system, as opposed to like a massive data center that's like flooding people's fucking sewage systems. It's very complicated, and I don't want to sit here and sound like I'm defending AI because I'm not, and I don't.
Well, so if you want to get specific, you can say fuck large language models.
Yeah,
and you're pretty much covered. My last semester of school before I graduated, I had to take a freshman history class. God help my soul. Teacher was incredible. One of the coolest historians I've ever met. He worked AI into his class, not in the like, well, ask ChatGPT this question. Well, he did actually do that. We did have to ask a large language model a question and like compare the answers or whatever. But like, one of the things he showed us were AI tools, and again, that the broad AI, not the ChatGPT AI tools that are not on a large language model, but are like specifically like it's more of a tool. Like tool is actually a correct word for it, as opposed to a ChatGPT. Where like the way you talk about it, like when you talk about
Mecha
like
Hitler.
Yeah, we're not talking about Mecha Hitler. We're talking about The way when you define like how something moves in a video game, like when you're playing Pokemon, the decisions made by the enemy trainer is made by an AI in heavy air quotes.
Yeah.
Talking about that AI, right? Like here's a data processing tool that isn't eating up a rainforest, but like we've trained with all of this information we already had in the library so that when we get new stuff to put in, it's still going to go in that library. We have the book, it's going in that library. Maybe we need some help like reading handwriting from the like from the 1300s or whatever. So we took this computer program that isn't a large language model. I'm going to say that over and over again. And we've trained it on all of this other writing so that it can get the pattern of like, this is what their S's looked like. You know, like those things are cool. I don't believe decimating our environment and also don't make you a moron. Those are cool and good. And in like an artist sense of like, maybe I don't have the motor functions to clean up my lines on my digital art.
Yeah.
And like, I think these tools probably already exist in some facet, but like if there's a way to even streamline them more of just like, I have some rough lines in the draft layer of this drawing I'm doing, I can click a button and it figures it out and cleans all the lines out. And it's not a large language model. That's just a tool in whatever my drawing program is. That's sick.
Yeah. No,
Like
I said, there's it's a more complicated issue than we often talk about it as, because we hear AI and we hear like slop shortcut, and that is what you and I are always railing against. There is a place for
I hear
it.
beef tallow fries, baby.
The onus is on you to now explain what the fuck you're talking about.
Our lovely morning of scrolling through the last 6 months of Steak and Shake's Twitter.com account, where Twitter is also owned by a tech fascist, but Steak and Shake is now owned by a tech fascist whose sole purpose is to take Bitcoin through Steak and Shake. And they only serve beef tallow fries. Fries fried in beef tallow because JFK Jr. came in and went, I want
RFK
beef tallow.
Jr.
Did I say
Jr. You said JFK Jr.
I do that quite a bit. Sorry.
This is Travis's. By the way, this is Travis's QAnon pivot that JFK Jr. is secretly
beef
alive.
tallow fries.
Serving beef tallow fries. That's how the Epstein files are hidden inside a vat of beef tallow grease
And sugarcane Coca-Cola. Yeah, if you want to feel like the world is dying around you more than it already is, and you haven't deleted Twitter.com off of everything that you own, which I highly recommend you do. I can't bring myself to do it. Open Twitter, look up Steak and Shake, and just scroll for the last. We checked up to Inauguration Day.
Because the reason I said to was because I had a vague memory of Steak and Shake posting something that was very Blood and Soil 1488 adjacent.
Yeah.
And we couldn't find it, but we did find a lot of beef tallow fries.
I talked to my mom about that. I told my mom about it, and she was like, that's the most insane shit I've ever heard. Thank you for telling me. Not that we have one near us, but I'll never go to a Steak and Shake again, I guess.
Oh, man.
So good on you, Mom.
Shouts out Travis's mom. Back into the article. Kang is kaput, of course, but what about Charlize Theron and the Eternals? I also love that they keep just referring to her as Charlize Theron and not saying Clea from Multiverse of Madness. In March 2023, a month after Jonathan Majors played the arch-villain Kang the Conqueror in Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, and I can be specific about when in March. It was March 25th, 2023, because I was at Dave & Buster's for my fucking birthday and opened Twitter to see, oh no, Kang is a domestic abuser, and went, well, fuck. Not that I'm the one who suffered the most because of that, but I just vividly remember.
No, clearly you were.
Yeah, I just remember standing at Dave & Buster's with a White Claw in one hand, gazing lustfully at the Star Wars VR game while a child was getting his ass kicked in it, and going, "Oh shit!" and everybody around me going, "What's wrong?" It was like Jonathan Majors just got picked up on a TV charge. Can't wait to see how this pans out. About 2023, after Jonathan Majors became Conqueror, the actor was arrested for assault and harassment of his then girlfriend Grace Jabari. Kang had been touted as the Thanos of the multiverse saga and was set to headline his own film in Avengers: The Kang Dynasty, which would set up Secret Wars. But the day Majors was convicted on 2 misdemeanor counts of harassment and assault, Marvel announced it was parting ways with the actor. The following July, the studio revealed that Robert Downey Jr. was returning to the MCU to play an even archer archvillain, Doctor Doom, and what had been rechristened Avengers Doomsday. But on Friday, Kevin Feige revealed that the studio had grown wary of Kang's heft as a character before Quantumania hit theaters. Quote, "We had started to realize that Kang wasn't big enough, wasn't Thanos, and there was only one character that could be because he was that in the comics for decades and decades. We started talking about Doctor Doom even before we officially pivoted from Kang. In fact, I had started talking with Robert about this audacious idea before Ant-Man 3 ever came out." Again, Travis may have been right. While Kang's future, or lack thereof, in the MCU is obvious, Feige was far more circumspect about whether audiences can expect to see other A-list MCU cameos like Charlize Theron's Clea, Brett Goldstein's Hercules, or Harry Styles as Star Fox, or Sacha Baron Cohen as Mephisto again in later projects. "Do you want to see them again?" Feige asked playfully. When a reporter responded that the inclusion of those characters indicates a promise that they would return at some point, Feige brought up the return of Tim Blake Nelson's character Samuel Stearns from 2008's The Incredible Hulk, for 2025's Captain America Brave New World, and Ralph Saxon's character William Denull from 1996 Mission Impossible for 2025's Mission Impossible Final Reckoning. "That is fun to me," he said. "So let's talk again in about 12 years and see who comes back." "What about other major characters like Moon Knight or the Eternals?" "I don't know that it's any of the specific ones you just named, but yes, that is part of the plan. Characters who've introduced post-Endgame will pop up again in some upcoming movies and beyond. The fun of comics is that anyone can pop up anywhere." Perhaps the most tantalizing moment in the interview came when a reporter asked Feige about how often Marvel plans to make films that focus on a single character like Shang-Chi rather than giant team-ups. "We were talking about a structure of an upcoming post-Secret Wars movie that I won't name. But I will say, like Shang-Chi, it's getting back to what genre haven't we done, and what do we do, and how could this movie be that genre? We would focus on a singular storyline by embracing a certain genre that we haven't seen in a while. Let the internet speculation commence. I don't know who, I don't know how, I don't know what. It's a Western. I feel it in my bones. We're gonna get MCU Western. I'm not kidding. I'm not making a joke. I think we're gonna get MCU Western. I don't know how the fuck you do it, but it's there." And then Feige, what is Feige watching and what his future looks like? Clad in a Fantastic Four hoodie and seated next to a giant $80 Galactus popcorn bucket, Feige took time to herald the return of Marvel's first family to the MCU, part of Disney's acquisition of 20th Century Fox in 2019. "They deserve to be A-listers," he said. There have been good Fantastic Four movies or not so good Fantastic Four movies, but nothing that felt like they had really seen what they are capable of." Feige also said that apparently the 4 lead actors from the unreleased Roger Corman Fantastic Four movie are all in the film, which is really cool. He was especially excited about the retro future aesthetic of the Fantastic Four and how the film embodies the company's efforts to make projects that aren't intimidating to casual fans. "We always were planning, even before that became a talking point, to introduce them in their own world, which they were the only heroes of. It is a no homework required movie. It literally is not connected to anything we've made before," Feige said with a mouse-shaped laser sight pressed against the back of his cap, held by Bob Iger. One possible hint for where the MCU could go next also lies in Hollywood's past. That's what he's been watching lately. Feige said he started watching classic films every night, mostly from the 1930s and 40s, like the thriller noir The Big Clock with Ray Milland and Charles Laughton, the legal drama Lawyer Man with William Powell, and the Western Dodge City with Errol Flynn and Olivia de Havilland. It's remembering what cinema is and what movie-going is and what entertaining audiences is. Everything old is new again, by the way. That's the reason I watch those old movies. As for his own future at Marvel, Feige appears to be keeping his options open. Succession is a hot topic at the Disney company, he says, alluding to Iger's ever-impending departure as Disney CEO. We always talk about Succession, even within divisions too. I think for that reason, do I want to be making big movies for big audiences in 10 or 15 years? Yes, absolutely. That's all I want to do. Marvel's a great way for me to do that right now, but I hope to make big movies for people forever. So that is the end of the main article. Feige echoing what Kathleen Kennedy herself said a couple months ago. But one last nugget here to the big future is on X-Men and the inevitable full reboot of the MCU. Feige did confirm something we talked about on the show, that Jake Schreier, director of Thunderbolts / The New Avengers, will be helming X-Men for the MCU, and said that Schreier has a pulse, has a finger on the pulse of the youth, which is already feeling like we're going to get a very young X-Men class, which I like. Many of the actors who starred in X-Men movies of the 2000s and 2010s are reprising those roles in 2026's Avengers Doomsday, including Patrick Stewart, Ian McKellen, Alan Cumming, Rebecca Romijn, James Marsden, Kelsey Grammer, etc. In future films, however, X-Men characters who appeared in previous movies will be played by new actors, along with mutants making their big screen debut. The decision echoes changes to the composition of the Marvel Comics following the 2015 Secret Wars storyline, which involved multiple timelines collapsing and reconverging, mixing up the characters of the main Marvel timeline in the process. We're utilizing that story, not just to round out the stories we've been telling post-Endgame, just as importantly, and you can look at the Secret Wars comics for where that takes you. It very, very much sets up the future. Endgame literally was about endings. Secret Wars is about beginnings. But Feige was also careful to not characterize the changes as a reboot. Instead, the executive said Secret Wars will serve as a reset for the MCU. Reboot is a scary word, he said. Reboot can mean a lot of things to a lot of people. Reset, singular timeline. We're thinking along those lines. X-Men is where that will happen next. Feige noted that the X-Men comics, with their focus on Xavier's School for Gifted Youngsters, naturally centered on stories about adolescent characters. They have been a place to tell stories about young people who feel different and who feel other, and how they don't belong. That's the universe. That's the universal story of mutants, and that's where we're going. Even more intriguingly, Feige also indicated that other Marvel characters will eventually be recast, including its more iconic roles like Tony Stark and Steve Rogers. He pointed to many other film franchises that have done the same thing multiple times. Amy Pascal and David Heyman are now searching for a new James Bond, referring to the upcoming new Bond movies. David Corenswet, the new Superman, he was awesome. That will always be the case. Feige acknowledged that the stars who have retired their characters' original MCU roles like Downey and Evans have made it difficult to imagine anyone else in their character's shoes, but it isn't an impossible task. I think it's hard for anybody to do that when an actor has done such a great role. How are they going to even replace Sean Connery as James Bond, right? At least 2 legacy actors may still appear in the MCU as well. Asked about his plans for a follow-up to 2024's blockbuster Deadpool and Wolverine with Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman, Feige in typical fashion made no definitive statements, but also did not close off any possibilities. I think there is more fun to be had with both of those characters, but we'll see where. So yeah, that brings us to the end of all the variety coverage I was able to scrounge up. The other thing I couldn't find the article for, but I did see the quote floating around. He did confirm that Spider-Man Brand New Day is going to be street level and that it's not going to be directly involved in the multiverse. I still maintain that I think the movie will suddenly end in apocalypse, or at least that's my hope. But maybe just post-credit, but we'll see. But yeah, Travis, how are you feeling about that last statement about how we will be getting new versions of the classic MCU characters?
Good. They need to, or it's never going to work. Like again, it's the thing of like, if you read comics, you have an image in your head of what those characters look like in comic art form, and there's 1,000 versions that don't look like that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
it's a really good way of putting it.
Like, I can think of, we talked about this the last time, where like I had a dream that one day they'll just recast people willy-nilly and it'll be the same continuity, just a different person playing. And like, I think Eternals is like the ultimate like case of why that needs to happen, because they started that movie with to make it appeal to people to go see it. And now you're never going to be able to pay any of those people to come back. And I mean, maybe Kumail Nanjiani because he keeps talking about the movie, but like,
Richard Madden, Selma Hayek. Yeah.
like how much money do you think they would have to give Harry Styles to appear in a like legitimate length in a movie?
I forgot. We just talked about it. I was thinking about the core cast, not even Harry Styles Star
Yeah.
Fox.
But like, yeah, even the core cast of like, think, again, I'm lower on that movie, not because of the cast, but like one of the reasons I'm low on that movie is because I know those people won't show up again for a long time, unless they're going to be in. Again, I did not care to look at the entire cast of Doomsday and Secret Wars because I just kind of figured it's a Smash Brothers thing where like everyone is here.
Yeah. The big thing with the Doomsday cast is the X-Men actors.
Yeah.
Like, it's, everybody you'd expect plus X-Men cool.
So now I'm pivoting to actually the movie's going to be Avengers versus X-Men. And when I'm right again, baby, you're never going to hear the end of it.
Have I told you my pitch for how I think that's going to go?
I think so. I think we've literally had this conversation before.
I wasn't sure. I know I told Mitch. I didn't know if we talked about it. Continue.
But I think it's really important to, and I mean, like, and again, you look at DC because of how it's been going, we have 8 different live action Batmans.
Yeah.
And people have their favorite, and that's fine. We both have our favorite.
Mm-hmm.
We have our favorite.
Are Christian Bale, and some of them are Michael Keaton, and they're wrong.
Yeah. We have our new favorite Superman, obviously. But like, it's not, and it just comes down to like.
Can I interrupt you for a moment?
Yeah.
Have you seen the memes referring to Henry Cavill as Aura Man?
I need to vocalize what I'm feeling because this is a podcast and not just a video medium. Wow. I really want to jump out that window.
Okay, so hold on. Because you hear he's referred to as Aura Man, and you think it's going to be a bunch of Snyder glaze. And then you watch like the main meme that originated this joke. And one of the examples of Aura Man aura farming is the scene from Batman v Superman where he just lets Congress explode.
We're back.
And then just mogs at the flames. And the name they give that scene on the countdown of his top aura farming moments, the name of it is High Key, I could have done something about this.
Never mind, we're so back.
I don't know if I sent that to you or not. I don't think you did. Busy laughing at a High Key laughing like yeah.
Please. If you can find it, I'm begging you. Oh, that's so funny.
Keep speaking. I'm going on the hunt.
My point. And obviously like RDJ became iconic and Chris Evans is iconic and whatever. Like, and that's not in disagreement. It's just that like we cannot live in a world where they are the only ones that play the parts. One, because now they are also too expensive, and also they are too old. Like that is just the world we live in. Time marches on, unfortunately. And if we want to live in a world where we can star-stud casts for movies to get you into a seat, we have to be willing to recast those people because they run a high margin and also don't want to keep doing it for a decade. Like, and that's reasonable. Holland has that famous interview where he's like, yeah, I was 18 and signed a 6-picture deal. And at the time I thought it was the greatest thing to happen in my life. And now I realize that like what I did was lock in the next decade of my work, which isn't necessarily like 100% true. And I say that like he was shit talking being Spider-Man. He loves being Spider-Man.
Yeah. It's just like part of it is I'm going to be here for a while.
Right. And we need to give actors the freedom to. It's like, and not that I wanted Joaquin Phoenix over Benedict Cumberbatch, but Joaquin Phoenix famously did not take Doctor Strange because he didn't want to be in a franchise.
Yeah.
And then we got Joker 2. A movie I still haven't seen, by the way.
Okay.
I want to say first, by the reaction I saw from the general public, I know I'd probably enjoy it because the correct people hated it.
My take from Joker 2 was this movie's bad, but I think it has the sauce.
Yeah.
Also, not to be the worst kind of podcast, I'm in the process of uploading that TikTok into our StreamYard so I can show it. So
I love you so much.
that you needed to see was the high key I could have done something.
Yeah, but okay. That's
because I saw it and I was like, oh, fucking A. And then it hit that, and then I almost pissed myself laughing.
Oh my god. Yeah, the normalized recasting comic book movies, make them feel like comic books. I think because, like, I mean, for me, to go back to DC, I love Nathan Fillion. I love everything he did with Guy Gardner. One of my favorite parts of that movie. There's absolutely no way he stays in that part for longer than like 2 or 3 more projects. I think he's what? He's like in his mid 50s.
He's 60 exactly. I think we looked that up on the Superman episode.
Okay, yeah, that's
because
like,
you brought it up that you didn't know how long he'd be around on the Superman episode.
Yeah,
or
I
no, 54.
Okay, I mean, even still, I mean, RDJ's like 60, right? 60 or 64.
That's what we looked up, is exactly how old RDJ is. That's it.
Yeah. Like, I don't mean that as if he wants to keep doing it, I'll let him keep doing it, right? They can give him makeup and CGI to make him younger. That's fine.
Or even just let Guy age as well. Like, that's also on the table, you know? Like,
yeah. Well,
that's
I mean,
something that can very well happen.
Right. I guess I was gonna make a point of like, well, he's not the first Lantern, but that like he's just older than Hal. Then that's all that needs to happen. You know what I mean? Like, age doesn't matter. It
he's
doesn't
older.
affect.
He's older than Hal, but it was Hal, then John, then Guy.
Right. Well, maybe we'll do it the right way, and it's Hal, then Guy, then John.
You're right. I had the order wrong.
My boy was number 2. I say my boy like my boys and John and Kyle, but
I was gonna say, I thought Travis liked Kyle Rayner. Did I imagine that?
No, you did not.
Society. Did I imagine that Travis is a Kyle Rayner guy?
I love Kyle Rayner. I hate his fucking goggles, but I love Kyle Rayner. But yeah, normalized recasting. The only other thing that like I didn't really get to touch on, I mean, there's a lot of article to move through. The TV thing, and like trying to go back to a Netflix Daredevil style time of television with Marvel. I will say that worries me.
I think that was a bad explanation thing in the same way that like Feige was like, oh yeah, like people can show up anywhere. I think what he's getting at is that like Thunderbolts, for example, you know, again, I don't think that movie suffers from those characters being in television. I think the movie does a great job at going, you know, this is how they got here. This is who they are. This is why they feel how they feel at the onset of the film. But I think he means like we aren't going to build any movies around TV characters. You know, in the same way that like Punisher is going to be in Brand New Day. And that's post all of the restructuring he's been talking about.
Yeah.
You know,
my worry is, and again, this is the like my brain filling in gaps where there there's probably information that he didn't give, or again, it's him speaking to somebody and then them writing it down and structuring it in a certain way, maybe not even intentionally.
Yeah.
Where like I remember I fell off of the Netflix shows in part because they were coming out so fast, and also because at some point I realized like, well, this isn't affecting the MCU canon. Same thing with Agents of Shield, where it was just like these shows don't matter to the thing I actually care about, and even though they're good, I don't have the time to keep up with these.
Yeah.
And so I'm gonna like I have to pick and choose my battles here. I'm gonna choose the thing I want to go see, and I think in general the public did that, and then what was supposed to be the first time we were like, oh, we're doing MCU television, completely fell off. And in part of that, like even what the article mentioned, like it was a separate branch of Marvel Entertainment doing those shows. And so maybe the communication at the time was bad about like these are going to be in the MCU. And then that fell through. You know, like there's a lot of things that I don't personally know and I'm filling gaps in on. But I don't want to revert to the shows may or may not be canon to the movies, because that was just much worse to me. And to the discourse. I'd much rather be in a world where like I know a TV show matters in the canon and I just like, oh hey, I missed that one. So maybe this one little thing like didn't quite hit the way I thought it would. Then seeing people talk about a TV show and not knowing if it's going to matter in a movie where it clearly could. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Sorry, a story broke, and I'm like trying to figure out what the fuck is going on. Sorry. Something about Michael Waldron working on Doomsday now.
They really try to sneak that one in under us.
I know, yeah. I mean, the story broke at fucking noon. I don't know what time zone, though, because they never specify the time zone on some of these. Well, either way, we'll see. Apparently, Michael Waldron is doing anything with Doomsday. I don't know. We'll circle back to that when the reporting is more clear. But Hollywood Reporter's on it. So, and it's from this. It's from this. So
Okay.
like it's not I like opened it in the first lines of the article where Kevin Feige in a nondescript room at Marvel Studios with the Galactus fucking popcorn bucket. I'm like, okay, this is whatever.
We chained Kevin Feige to a table and forced him to talk to us for 3 hours.
Indeed. But no, I think this is, like I said, I think this is a very good I think it's good when the people in charge do stuff like this. I like to see the open conversation happening in public. I think it's a net benefit to everybody involved. But yeah, I think that's all we got for this one. So
the MCU is dead. Long live the MCU.
But yeah. Little bit of housekeeping. Obviously the big one, Epic Confrontations Hyperspace Gauntlet, coming the next couple weeks, guys. So tune in for that August 9th on the Star Wars in a Galaxy YouTube channel. Very, very excited for that event. Obviously, over here next week we're going to have our Fantastic Four discussion and some San Diego Comic-Con news roundup stuff. Also on the topic of Epic Confrontations, I want to say shouts out to Bangers and Smash, friends of the show, Nikki Kumar and Charlie Ashby. Congratulations to them for becoming the first In a Galaxy Teams champions of the world. I watched the match the other night. It was fucking great. It felt good to get called out by a champion at the very end of the match, as my new team will be debuting at some point soon. And Nikki, keep that belt warm for me. You too, Charlie. But I specifically want Nikki's belt. I specifically want Nikki's. Mostly because Charlie's belt will be in the UK. And I don't want to wait that long. I'll let Michael worry about that. I want Nikki's belt on principle. because when Eli was like, so, like, is there anybody you're looking forward to facing to defend your title from? Is there anybody you're expecting to come looking for it? And Nikki was like, obviously it's Jarod. He doesn't know how to shut his fucking mouth. Which right on both counts, champ. So keep that warm for me. I'll take it from your little boyfriend Diaz too eventually. I'm allowed to say that. I'm queer. This isn't me doing Spider-Man homophobia. But yeah, so Hyperspace Gauntlet 2, August 9th. Very excited for that. Lots of people going to be competing there. Ionized Bastards is wrapped up. So you can go watch all of Ionized Bastards, which still feels surreal to say. You can watch the whole show in its entirety on the All Remaining Systems YouTube channel. Stay tuned over there because a new High Republic RPG is coming very, very soon. And we are very excited to get started on that. There'll also be a live stream kind of discussing the end of Ionized Bastards in the next week or so. Once Scotty is done traveling, because Scotty's going to be kind of moderating that conversation. So stay tuned over there at All Remaining Systems. Pro and Noob is back with our Dan to Dan coverage. The first episode of Dan to Dan Season 2 analysis dropped today. That was a really fun one to talk about. Really loving that show. And yeah, Travis, tell the people where they can find you.
Getting my beef tallow fries at Tesla Tuesdays at Steak and Shake. Burn a Steak and Shake to the ground in Minecraft.
Death to all of them.
It is my favorite. I love that clip so much because of her reaction to realizing it's both like, wait, what did I just say? And also realizing, wait, they heard me say that.
My favorite part will always be the one guy at the end going, Jesus. That is my favorite part of any clip on our little thing. Even more than, as Alden loves to call it, the sad jazz trumpet in the background of the maybe I'll walk out of here tomorrow and you'll never see me again. That's really what I want to do.
You can patiently wait for me to tweet about it happening at Travis Political. I told you that's going to be my first post since I don't even know how long on everything. It's just going to be celebrations after I'm already like 3 or 4 shots deep. Jarod,
I'm gonna be making some Aaron Bourbon serbs.
They're
gonna be 4th of July strength, buddy.
I don't know. It doesn't matter where I am. Chances are I'll be somewhere in the city. The moment I see, I'm dropping everything. If I'm at work, I'm putting PTO in immediately. I'm running outside to the nearest bar and just starting a party.
Good luck. Where you are, you have a lot to choose from. The first one you see will probably be 3 right next to each other.
Yeah, exactly. And they're all going to be pouring out into the street. It's going to be incredible. I'm so excited. Jarod.
Yes.
Where?
You guys can find me on Instagram and Blue Sky at Dark Jedi 2552. You can find the Nerd Academy podcast on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Blue Sky, YouTube, TikTok, where I promise I'm going to start posting clips again, and wherever you get podcasts as well as YouTube. If you would like to support the show, you can go ahead and click the link and subscribe to our Patreon.
Give me $1.
Speaking of our patrons, thank you to our $10 alumnus, Paco, Ray Clausen, and Brennan Marr from Page Turners They Were Not. Versus Series is coming back very soon. We're probably going to be recording on Friday or Wednesday, I believe. So stay tuned for that. That's coming back, as well as some topic episodes for the Versus Series, the first of which being our Star Wars versus Mount Rushmore, a topic I'm very excited to get into and unpack. I think I have mine. I know. So I made the thumbnail for it. And I made it knowing one of mine, and I knew mine asking Alden for one of his. I did not ask Spencer for one of his because I already know one of the characters. And I'm going to say this on the record so that if I'm wrong, you can point to this episode and say, I was wrong. One of Spencer's characters on his Mount Rushmore is going to be Unsung Legends Jedi, K.O. Sendarach. I'm calling it now. He's on the thumbnail. And if Spencer says something that isn't K.O. Sendarach in any of his 4 picks, I'm going to actually be angry at him. because I'm counting on him bringing up one of the gluppiest of shittos he has ever caped for. Spencer gets down for Chaos and Durach the way I get down for like Darth Krayt and Coyote Mundi. And Chaos and Durach has appeared in one, count them, one cinematic.
I love that. I love that for him.
Because Spencer's normally pretty normal of a Star Wars fan.
Yeah.
He's normally his knowledge base is deep, his passion and love is deep, but like he's normally not like marking out over characters people have no business even having an idea about. And his number 2 GOAT Jedi, I don't think has ever had an action figure.
I mean, I certainly don't know his name. And like obviously I'm not that Star Wars guy. But usually when you say names, I have an somewhat understanding, right?
You can visualize them.
Yeah, what you just said, that name was me and Levi talking One Piece in front of you.
Dude, I felt like I was fucking tripping balls, dude. I even said, I'm like, is this what people feel like when they listen to 2 Star Wars fans talk?
Yeah, for
You
people
guys are
that know
talking
ball.
about like the challenge of the back shot or whatever the fuck you were talking about.
Oh, the Davy back fights. Yeah. And how
the
Davy
David
back
back
fights are
shots.
now like so much more. I haven't read this week's chapter. I need to read it. But yeah, we were, for those that know ball, we were talking about the big reveal on Rocks, and that the fact that he does Davy back fights on Pirate Island, which is a callback to everyone's least favorite arc in the series.
He does Davy back fights up there.
Yeah.
It was very Glupshido lost a duel to Gaper Bingzoy on the planet of Gulong 5.
The problem is that it's not a like One Piece has some
saying
Glupshidos.
is not Glupshido at all. I
Yeah.
know for a fact that this is crucial plot shit, but hearing it feels like Glupshido in a lightsaber duel with Gaper Bingzoy on Gulong 5. Like, that's all I can hear. That's all I can fucking hear.
Yeah. It is go watch One Piece. When you guys do One Piece eventually, call me.
Heard. Loud heard. But all of that said, thank you so much for tuning in. Like I said, Fantastic Four and San Diego Comic-Con coverage coming at you guys next week. We have a very fun episode of KNR in the works that has been a bitch to schedule, mostly because of my own doing. But we will have The Acolyte 1 year later episode coming out on KNR here soon as well. So stay tuned for all of that. Stay tuned to the Nerd Academy podcast. Stay tuned to our remaining systems. Stay tuned to Mitch 692 and stay tuned to Epic Confrontations. But with that, thank you all so very much for tuning in. And class dismissed.
Stop! Move away from the cookie jar!